welcome to my review of Resident Evil 4 Remake for the PS5. Now, I just got done completing this game, and I gotta say, I had a blast playing it. Tons of fun. To give a little context, guys, and I'll get into it a little bit more throughout the video, but I played the Resident Evil 4 original on GameCube. In fact, I had it pre-ordered back in the day, so we're talking all the way back in 2005. So one thing to note is that even though there's been multiple versions of this game, multiple ports, I wouldn't say this is obviously the only remake, but there's been so-called like remasters. I did not play any of them. Like, I just stuck to the original GameCube version. So it's probably good to know that knowledge going into this video, that I didn't play this, when it came out on PS3 and on the Nintendo Wii, on the iOS. I'll get into more of that later, but I only played the original GameCube version. So it has been a long time since I played this, because I did beat it all the way back in 2005. So I mean, we're talking 18 years here. Pretty crazy. So I'll jump right into it, guys, and I'll get into just the kind of the control and the gameplay. And the game controls as well as it did in the original Resident Evil 4. But some new gameplay mechanics were added, as well as some quality of life features. For example, the knife can now be used in a variety of ways to parry incoming attacks, stab enemies to get out of being grabbed. You can stab down enemies to stop them from getting up. And you can also, which is new, sneak up on enemies for like a silent knife takedown, which I thought was pretty cool. And it's also very helpful, especially when you're playing Resident Evil, and this game is, a lot of it's about inventory and ammo management. So really helpful that you can actually use the knife now in a variety of different ways. But with that said, each time you use your knife, its durability will actually be reduced. But Capcom put a way in to kind of counter this mechanic. So you can basically upgrade your knife's power and durability at the merchant, and you can pay to have your durability meter basically replenished. So say you end up using your knife to parry a handful of attacks and take down a couple of guys, a couple of zombies, your durability meter is going to slowly degrade. So when you go see the merchant, you can basically have your knife worked on, and it'll replenish that durability meter so you can continue using it. So I thought that was pretty cool. Another one of the quality of life features that I really appreciated actually was the ability to bind weapons. So you can swap them by pressing the D-pad. So basically, I could assign a submachine gun by pressing the left on the D-pad, or by pressing the right, I can have assigned my sniper rifle, and by pressing up on the D-pad, it'll automatically equip, say, the shotgun. Another thing though too is it's not just the 4 directions. If I press up twice on the D-pad, I can assign, say, grenades there and something else here. So you have the ability to quick swap between 8 different items, which honestly is really nice when you don't have to pause the game and you can just quickly do it on screen. So it's little quality of life things like that I think we can all appreciate. So another thing too is the typewriter. It's not just a save point anymore. It actually allows you to access your storage to move weapons into, but also lets you customize your briefcase and any charms you've equipped to it. And another thing they did was really cool is they added optional side quests to the game. So these come in the form of shiny blue notes posted in certain areas that will task you with everything from destroying blue medallions to defeating certain enemy types and places that you may have already visited. So these requests can be turned into the merchant for rewards, which seems to make them a worthwhile endeavor. Another new feature comes in the form of, again, the briefcase. So Resident Evil 4 Remake now lets you purchase additional cases and charms. But what's cool is different briefcases have different passive bonuses. Like for instance, the silver briefcase, having that equipped will increase like certain ammo drop types. So if I'm using the silver briefcase, I have like a plus 20% chance of getting more handgun ammo. Or if you purchase the red briefcase, the rate of red herbs appearing throughout the game increases. So it's little things like that that they added that were pretty cool. Now, jumping into graphics, let me tell you guys, graphically speaking, Resident Evil 4 to me is one of the most impressive games I've experienced. And I've played, every video game there is to really play. And it's really cool. Like, in an effort to make Resident Evil 4, I believe, connect with its survival horror roots, the remake includes like new scenarios and areas not present in the classic version of the game to kind of heighten the tension, exploration, and set the mood. So in those areas, Leon may take out his flashlight to slowly explore darkened woods or abandoned homes and change the pace up for more traditional action sequences of Resident Evil 4. One new thing that I thought was awesome is there's like new weather and more distinct times of day like throughout the game, making the night chapters harder to see, and then also including like torrential downpours of rain as like the lightning lights up the sky, which leads me to my next topic, which is the sound of the game. So Resident Evil 4 Remake takes advantage, of course, of the PS5's 3D audio, which like really helps to build tension and drive forward that horror feel. Like, even if you don't have the 3D audio headphones, the game's soundtrack is, to me, I thought it was extremely scary. And it just really helped to set the mood and the tone for what you're about to get into. Like the sound of nearby zombies that you can't see, but you can hear. It really helps to like build a lot of tension and almost apprehension before you decide if you're going to turn the corner. Like you can hear a zombie in the distance, and before you know it, you're equipping all of your guns and making sure they're all fully loaded, because you might have to like throw down on somebody as soon as you turn around that corner. You just don't know, but you can hear it. And like seriously, the 3D audio does such a good job with it. What's even cool too is like there's additional DLC, and you do have to purchase it. It's $2.99, so it's not a lot. But you can experience the entire game with the original soundtrack. So it might be fun if you're planning on doing an additional playthrough or you're going for the Platinum Trophy. Like, you might want to purchase that DLC and like hear the original game's audio, because the original game's soundtrack was excellent. And personally, like, I'm probably going to play through this a handful of times. I may go for the Platinum. I'll get into that more later, because it's going to take, from what I've read, 4, 5, 6 playthroughs of the game. But if I am going to decide to do that, I'm going to try the old soundtrack. I think that would be fun. Now, guys, as far as like story and characters, if you played Resident Evil games, you probably know what you're getting into, but probably not quite if you've never played this one. So without giving away any spoilers, for me, the story in Resident Evil 4 was one of my favorites amongst the Resident Evil franchise. When I first played the game in 2005, I was pretty shocked actually by the direction the game's story went in, because it felt like it diverted from the first few Resident Evil games. But it was a good shock, kind of like, damn, dude, like, I'm impressed. I didn't see this coming from Capcom kind of shock. So don't expect a story on par with like Final Fantasy or even God of War. But for me, Resident Evil 4 is peak Resident Evil storytelling. So I think you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of it. Now, as far as replayability, if you plan on going for the Platinum Trophy, you'll be replaying the game a number of times in different ways in order to obtain the Platinum Trophy. For trophy hunters, like, I think the replay value is very high. If you're not into trophy hunting, you still have the Resident Evil 4 Mercenaries game, that comes as separate and free DLC. So you have to go to the DLC section in the PlayStation Store, but you can download Mercenaries completely for free, which is really cool. And basically it takes like a few of the big kind of like sandbox locations in Resident Evil 4 and turns it into like a time points based arcade mode where you're trying to kill as many zombies as possible. And I found this to actually be quite an enjoyable experience as free DLC. Plus, there are some like secret weapons and I believe possibly some outfits that actually upgrade. So look at it more as like armor maybe. But by playing through the Mercenaries mode, there are unique weapons that you can get. And you actually have to get these weapons if you're going to go for the Platinum Trophy. Because there's a trophy attached to, of course, getting all the weapons in the game. So that's pretty cool too. Now, as far as performance, guys, I played this on the PlayStation 5. So keep that in mind that this is all PS5 specific. So I played the game using the frame rate performance mode. And of course, in frame rate performance, the game's going to run at a capped 60 frames per second with the 2160p dynamic resolution. What I mean by dynamic, meaning the resolution will fluctuate. So what it means is like in high stress situations, the console, the PS5, will sacrifice a bit of resolution and image quality in order to keep the frame rate as consistent as possible. So in my experience, the occasional resolution drop is far less noticeable or intrusive as far as a gaming experience than an actual frame rate drop. So your other graphic option is a resolution mode, which favors graphic quality above frame rate. So choosing graphic quality, it'll cut the game's frame rate in half to 30 frames per second, but it will give you the option to add ray tracing. So my suggestion is, like, if you have a TV that supports variable refresh rate, then I would suggest at least trying out the ray trace mode just to see how it looks. Maybe you'll like it. Obviously, it's going to look really good, but again, you're sacrificing, 30 frames per second. You're going from 60 to 30. So since VRR like matches its refresh rate to the game, it will reduce stutters and screen tears, which can often be caused by activating ray tracing. So if you have a VRR, variable refresh rate TV, then I would say go ahead and try the ray tracing, as it won't affect performance too much. However, if you don't have like a variable refresh rate TV, I would probably say it's best to leave off. So a few things that I wrote down as I was playing this game that I really appreciated, and I guess you could say that kind of surprised me playing it through the second time, 18 years later, is the shooting range in the game. And so basically, let me just tell you what the main thing is here. The main goal of the shooting range is to earn scores high enough to be awarded two types of tokens: silver tokens and gold tokens. And any combination of the two can be inserted 3 at a time into a vending machine, and you basically get like a random charm. And each charm is broken out into common, rare, epic, and of course the top tier would be legendary variations. So equipping a common charm can give you like plus 20% rifle ammo crafting bonus. So when you craft, rifle ammo, each time you craft it, I think you get 7 bullets. But if you have the plus 20% bonus charm attached to it, you're going to get, of course, more ammo when you do the crafting. And then, there's like another charm, like a legendary charm can increase your running speed by 8%, which, as you know, is like pretty helpful in a Resident Evil zombie game where you're running from zombies sometimes. And then also, one of them, I didn't get this charm, but maybe I will in one of my later playthroughs. But there's a cute bear legendary charm. And basically, if you get this, all you have to do is use 1 gunpowder to craft ammo, which it's extremely helpful because gunpowder is a very rare item in the game. So these charms actually add quite a bit of element to the game and a lot of strategy, and I thought this was pretty cool. So I really appreciate it, though, the level of difficulty of the shooting range game. Like, you're not going to go in there guns a-blazing and get a S tier on it. And getting S tier gets you the most tokens, and it's also going to net you the Dead Eye trophy or achievement, which if you're going for the platinum, you have to get S tier on all the shooting range games. And there's 12 different shooting range courses. So it's going to take you some time, in my opinion. But what I liked about it is it felt like an unexpected puzzle. Sort of like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. You know, it's a sports game, but ultimately each character is a different puzzle to solve, just like in Mike Tyson's. So like with the shooting range, each course is like a different puzzle, because in order to achieve S tier, you have to memorize where the skull targets appear, and you have to hit all the skull targets during the shooting range. So there might be, 60, 70 targets throughout the, minute, 2-minute shooting range, but maybe 8 or 9 of them have these little skull targets, and you have to hit it perfectly. And in order to get S tier, you have to hit all of the skull targets. So like I said, it makes it pretty interesting. But basically, you have to memorize where the skull targets appear. And then you got to have like laser-like precision to hit the targets. And then you strategically have to switch between weapons, because if you don't choose the right weapon, you won't be able to reach the bonus mode. And you have to activate the bonus mode in order to have all of the skull targets appear. And then you have to actually hit the skull targets. So essentially, you must memorize like all the order of the targets, hit all the skull targets to obtain S tier. And you have to obtain S tier on all 12 shooting ranges to get the Dead Eye trophy / achievement. And that'll give you the most gold tokens to spend in the vending machine. So honestly, like, I didn't expect the level of death for the shooting range. I thought it was really fun. So if you end up playing this game, like, definitely spend some time in the shooting range and try to get as many charms as you can. The other thing about it too, guys, is like, it didn't feel like a game that originally released in 2005. Like, this is a full-on remake, not a remaster. When Resident Evil 4 was first announced as a timed GameCube exclusive back in the day, it was pretty groundbreaking, since Nintendo systems rarely had mature content. And because the Resident Evil series was very well known as a PlayStation franchise. But all of that changed during the GameCube era. We ended up getting a total of 6 Resident Evil games on the GameCube back in the day. And, like, of course, Resident Evil 4 was the last one we got. And, they saved the best for last. And I would say probably the biggest improvement found in Resident Evil 4 was the decision to scrap the tank controls back in the day, which in my opinion was like a complete game changer for the Resident Evil franchise. So to sum it up, guys, my personal opinion, if you enjoy the Resident Evil games, then this is a no-brainer. If you enjoy zombie games, no-brainer. If you enjoy action games, like, to me, this is pretty peak. Ultimately, I feel like if you enjoy video games at all, you're going to enjoy the Resident Evil 4 remake. There's a reason the original 2005 Resident Evil game has been ported to 10 different consoles since its original 2005 release date. It's a game that's truly stood the test of time, and a game that, in my opinion, every gamer needs to play and experience for themselves. If you played the original and you're wondering if it's worth paying $60 to revisit the remake, I would say it's absolutely worth it, guys. If you don't want to play it right at the moment, wait till Black Friday and pick it up for $20, $30. We all know that we have a backlog of games probably to play. So whichever way you go, make sure you add this game to your list of games to play. Make sure you play it at night with the volume up for extra immersion. Thanks, guys, for tuning in to my review of Resident Evil 4. Hope you have a great day.